Hey guys, it's Dr. Adam Nally here. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I have live streamed with you guys. It's good to see you. Those of you that are up late on the other side of the pond, how are you guys? I hope all is well. For those that are just initially signing on here, thank you for signing on. Thanks for sharing this out. I am Dr. Adam Nally, and I am a board-certified family physician and a board-certified obesity medicine specialist coming to you live from Waddell, Arizona. Hello guys, how are you? I'm actually dual streaming, so I've got Facebook Live right here and I've got Periscope right here. I'm going to try to see if I can see questions pop up through this. Sometimes when I live stream this way, I get good questions. Sometimes my connection's not so hot. I actually upgraded my Cox cable. I've got apparently the fastest cable they got out where I'm at here, so hopefully it works. Hello from Brisbane. Yes, nice shirt. You like my Doc Muscle shirt? I'm probably going to give one of these away as a giveaway here in the next probably scope or so, but we'll see. And I missed that last question that was on there. I know Facebook Live has a bit of a delay, but hello to all of you and thanks for sharing this out. I love bacon too, yes. Is it okay to buy bacon with nitrates? Well, let me put it this way. If you eat a spring salad, which has a little bit of lettuce and a little bit of spinach and a little bit of iceberg lettuce and some romaine lettuce, the nitrates in that is equivalent to 274 hot dogs. So you tell me if the nitrates are a problem. Because we're told to eat lettuce, but we're told to avoid nitrates. It's craziness. I wrote a whole blog post about that. So if you go to docmuscles.com and you type in nitrates, you can read that article there. So it's cool. I'm going to try to see the comments back and forth, and we'll try to see how this goes. I thought this evening I would talk about falling off the diet wagon, dragging it into the forest, setting it on fire, and using the insurance money to buy Twinkies. I had 3 or 4 patients come in today who just said, Doc, I fell off the wagon, and not only did I fall off, I splurged, bought ding-dongs Twinkies, and just went all out. So one of the questions is, well, why did you do that? And so I thought I would talk a little bit about what causes our cravings if you're on a ketogenic diet, as one of my doc talks, as people have asked that question a lot, and I saw 3 or 4 people today asking that question. And so I'll address that, and then I'll try to address some of the questions, dawn effect, things like that. And part of the reason for craving also relates to that dawn effect and affects us that all. So hello, Kathy. Hello, Denise. Hello, Chris. Hi, guys. How are you? Thanks for the shares, and thanks for all the hearts for those of you on Periscope. Hopefully it's coming to you nicely and streaming well via either of those bandwidths. So the first thing I tell people is it's important to understand that a ketogenic diet functions well when you use principles. And the first principle that's the most important you need to understand is you got to get insulin low. A lot of people, and I stalk a lot of the ketogenic Facebook pages. I try not to participate in them because it's just so controversial, and I have to actually turn it off at times because it drives me insane. Hello from Texas, how are you? But one of the things that I see is that people are missing the boat. They fall off the wagon, and then they drag the wagon and set on fire, and they're more interested in the fire than the actual wagon or itself. And so one of the things it's important to understand is that to truly use a ketogenic diet correctly, you actually have to lower insulin first. If you haven't lowered insulin, hello from Idaho. Hey, is it DJ? If you haven't lowered insulin correctly, you're not going to actually see true ketosis. And anything that raises that insulin is going to kick you out of ketosis, whether that's stress, whether that's artificial sweeteners, whether that's too much protein, whether that's inadequate sleep, whether that's an infection. I had a patient come in today who actually had diverticulitis and was upset that her ketones dropped. It's like, you've got a raging infection in your belly. Don't get upset by that. That's the body's natural way of helping you to heal. So it's actually really important. Various things, and including, as Sharon asked, super starches will kick you out of ketosis. I'm not a big fan of using them because it does give you the runs, number one. Number two, in many cases, it kicks you out of ketosis. So there's a number of reasons that you'll see insulin rise. In fact, somebody just sent us a big old thing of monk fruit, and people are saying, oh, monk fruit's great. It's fantastic for ketosis. It kicks me out of ketosis every single time. I'm not a fan of monk fruit for that reason, because it's actually fructose, and fructose doesn't kick you out in the first 30 minutes. It kicks you out 2 to 2.5 hours later when the liver processes it. So it's actually very important to understand that. So anything that actually raises your insulin, whether that be raising it in the first 30 minutes or like alcohol, raising it 4 to 5 hours later, you will actually shift out of ketosis. Now, I just upset all those people that drink dry farm wines. A few of you can get away with it. Many of us can't, because that alcohol is processed just like fructose and spikes insulin 2 to 3 to 5 hours after processing, and may throw you out of ketosis or lower your overall ketone levels. That's one of the things to be aware of. Now, not everybody has that happen. A few do, some don't. Hey, Nick, how are you? Thanks for you guys who are signing in now, and I'm going to try to catch those of you who are coming in. Hey, Tyrell, how are you? If you're new to my scopes, if you're new to Doc Talk or Doc Muscles, then put a 1 in the chart, or put a 1 in the chat box, or put your name in there. And so the next step answers Mandy's question is there a difference between net carbs and total carbs? And there absolutely is. I tell people, if you want total ketosis, follow total carbs. If you want net ketosis, do net carbs. And the reason being is this: people calculate net carbs in a different way, or in a different method. Oops, I'm throwing things down there. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to pull my mic in a little tighter. I don't know if the people on Facebook can hear. The challenge with net carbs is that it doesn't always calculate in the all of the carbohydrates. Some of us process carbohydrates different than others. We're learning to understand the gut and the microbiome of the gut more effectively. And some of us process certain shorter chain carbohydrates or fibers and actually take some of the glucose out of that, and some of us don't. So you'll have to look at different fibers and different net components differently. But what they don't calculate is like erythritol, maltitol, a lot of the sugar alcohols, sulfate, potassium, which is the fancy new sweetener that's been around for a few years, but it's in almost everything low carb, and it actually spikes insulin. So even though it's not actually a carb, it actually will kick you out of ketosis by raising your insulin. So that's one of the big challenges that is there. So I tell people, look at total carbs. The only carb that I don't count in my office is a leafy green. If it's a leaf and it's green, then you don't necessarily have to count it. Now, if you cook it, if you're like Popeye and you like to cook your spinach, if you do that, then that about half cup of spinach cooked is about 10 grams of carbohydrate. Cooking, blending, juicing, shredding, pressing, any of those things that you do where you manually, physically, or with heat break down the long chain fiber. Long chain fibers are just glucoses linked together, and when you break them either by manual pressure or by heat or by nitroglycerin or whatever you decide to do it to soften it, you actually break the fiber and you activate the sugar, and that's why it tastes sweeter. So it's important to understand that. So that's essential. That's a key. Some of us are more sensitive than others. I've got some patients that they can eat a whole pot of cooked spinach and it never even throws them out of ketosis. I've got others that they eat a half cup and it kicks them out of ketosis. And the reason is that their gut is more sensitive to those fibers. It takes some of the glucose, spikes the insulin, and they pop out. So that's important to understand. A couple people are asking about, where did I just see it here? I just saw it on here. Somebody asked, and the question popped away. Oh, sleep. Let me get back up with the principles. Number one is insulin. You got to keep the insulin low. That's the first step. Insulin's always the first step. Second step, the second thing that's going to kick you out of ketosis and throw you off the wagon and cause cravings to kick in. Well, let me back up because we're talking about cravings. So if you don't get your insulin down 2 to 3 hours after you eat whatever it is that raised your insulin, you're going to crave food again. You're going to be hungry. So that's the big issue, is you got to get the insulin low. And so anything that does that's a problem. So like I said, net carbs can do it in many people. Certain sweeteners can do it in many people. Too much protein can do it in people. Now, this is the most controversial subject on the internet today when it comes to ketosis, is the protein lovers and the protein demons. Protein is essential. You have to have protein. But it's important to understand that different types of food contain varying levels of the important amino acid, which they call the BCCAs, or the branched chain amino acids, those that you actually have to eat, your body can't process. You have to put them in your system. Three of them specifically spike insulin in higher amounts. And so that's arginine, leucine, and isoleucine. Those notably spike insulin in the more you eat. So I have a lot of patients, especially women, who love to eat their chicken salad. That's leafy greens, which are okay. Those are leafy greens. We don't have to count the carbs in that. And then they put chicken on it. Now, chicken is the highest in arginine that there is in regards to food. And if you have no fat with that, your body's going to be forced to convert part of that protein into fuel. Arginine spikes insulin. It's not the protein itself. or the amount of protein, it's the actual arginine amino acid does stimulate an insulin response. And so that actually kicks you out of ketosis as well. So chicken salad is actually not ketogenic. I don't recommend it. Now, you can do a small amount of chicken and put a lot of fat on it, and that does help, but that's one of the things that's the key. That's another reason that people crave food after their chicken salad, so it's important. The live videos never load. So it looks like I may be losing Periscope. A couple of people I watched on Periscope this evening as I was doing chart works were having problems. So if it's not loading for you or having problems, I apologize. It looks like Facebook Live is still moving. Hopefully it is. Yes, antibiotics in some cases can kick you out of ketosis. That's important. Lack of sleep is a stress response. It kicks you out of ketosis. Oh, everybody's saying that we're fine on here. Fine in Atlanta. Atlanta's great. Periscope in Atlanta's okay. So if you might want to fly over to Atlanta right now and maybe you'll catch me live. Actually, I'm in Arizona. Sea lion liver. Yes, those of you that listen to my Keto Talk podcast realize that the highest containing arginine food is sea lion liver. For those of you that live in Alaska or those places, and sea lion liver is a delicacy, you might want to be careful with that. So it's important to understand. Antibiotics can do it. When you have an infection, whether that's viral, bacterial, or fungal, any of those infectious symptoms cause an immune response, which actually stimulates the liver to produce more glucose through this fancy term called gluconeogenesis, which is fancy Latin way for, hey, liver, make more sugar, is what it basically does. And that will actually have the potential to throw you out of ketosis as well. Now, if you're ill or you're sick, don't stress about that, because you're stressing about being sick actually makes you puts you in worse straits. So your body's designed to protect itself, and when it's ill, it needs more sugar for the immune system. So just hang in there, work through your infection, get better, and then get back into ketosis. So nothing to worry about there. Hey, Summer, how are you? It's good to see you. Pork is great. Now, pork loin does have a higher arginine content than pork chops or pulled pork or bacon. Yes, it actually does. So bacon's better for you than pork loin. For those of you who like the pork loin because it's leaner and it has less fat, that's why they kick out of ketosis and it's not as helpful. But bacon's great. So no problem there. Good comments, you guys. Yes, shrimp can raise insulin. So if you eat the entire shrimp cocktail of 30 shrimp on it, it might throw you out of, it actually has me. It's thrown me out of ketosis, so be aware of that. Never get hungry since going low carb. And that's, yes. So if you're truly in ketosis and the ketones are high enough and your insulin's staying low, you won't be hungry. It will suppress the hunger. And that's the second point, is that if you're eating enough fat and your insulin's low first, so insulin's low, you're eating enough fat second, then you're going to stay in ketosis, and you will see your hunger dissipate. And you won't fall off the wagon, drag it into the forest, set it on fire, burn it, and then use the insurance money to buy Twinkies. That won't happen. So you'll actually feel pretty good because you're in a ketosis. Now, most people tell me that hunger suppresses when their fat intake is about 70 to 80% of their total calories. Would someone with good ketone and blood sugar not wake up? I missed the last part of that. Sorry about it. Something about adrenal glands. Pop that question back up there one more time. I'm sorry I missed that. Hey, Scott, how are you? Fat does not clog your arteries. The insulin that's present with the fat stimulates the fat to go into the arteries and clog it in a roundabout way. Low or just under 100, I missed what that meant. Pop that back up there again. Does bacon turn into bad fat in the body? Absolutely not. Bacon with the piece of bread, the bread spikes insulin. Insulin tells the body, hey, use the sugar in the bread first, take the bacon fat, put it in the fat cells. In the process of that bacon fat going through the arteries to the fat cells, it clogs the arteries. It's not the fat. Don't blame the fat for what the bread did. Don't blame the butter for what the bread did. It's the bread, it's the oatmeal. Yes, it's the oatmeal. It's the oatmeal with your butter that's the problem. It's not the butter, it's the oatmeal. It's the cereal. Your frosted mini wheats are killing you. Let's see, I think I remember you saying MCT oil helps to build ketones. MCT oil is the next step. MCT is a long chain or a medium chain fat, and when you clip it in half, it becomes 2 ketones, essentially. So an MCT is the easiest way to get ketones into the system if you're not actually drinking real ketones. Best way to know cheese kicks you out of ketosis? Check your blood. That's the best way to know, Scott. Very good. Dawn effect. Oh, yes, Chris, thanks for reminding me. So the dawn effect is essentially an effect of, there's really a couple things that can happen with dawn effect. If you eat too many starches or too much protein in the evening, overnight as you're laying there and you're less physically active and you're not burning through the glucose, your body may produce excess insulin, and that excess insulin causes the blood sugar about 3 o'clock in the morning to bottom out. Well, when the blood sugar starts to drop below 70 in the bloodstream, the liver goes, "Ah!" and it actually kicks out more sugar from the liver to keep the blood sugar coming back up. Well, the liver will often overcompensate and push that blood sugar up to 100, 120, even sometimes 130 the next morning because you bottomed out. And that's one reason for a dawn effect that can arise, because you had a spike of insulin overnight. Now, that can happen because if Facebook, hopefully it's back up again, hopefully we're not losing you. So the dawn effect can also arise from medicine. So if one of your diabetic medicines bottoms out your blood sugar, you'll kick out blood sugar and it'll spike it up. Why would someone not wake up restful with good ketones and good blood sugar? Not because of adrenals, no. Your ability to rest has a whole slew of reasons, and it may be related to sleep apnea, may be related to snoring issues, may be related to difficulty with oxygenation, may be related to other medicines that are not allowing you to get into stage 3 and 4 sleep. That's a whole other topic, but it's a good question, so very good. How do you suggest breaking a 1-month stall? 40 pounds in 3 months, but stalled out for a month, no change in food. Make sure you're in ketosis, number 1. Make sure your insulins are staying low, number 2. And number 3, make sure you're eating enough fat. And then if not, then check blood work because there's probably something metabolic going on that way. So important to look at that. Great questions, you guys. And I've been yamming around for 16 minutes here about this. So if I have good ketones, can I still eat too much fat and potentially clog the arteries? Absolutely not. Remember, the only way fat goes into the fat cell is if insulin's present. Insulin drives the small dense LDL particle formation because of increased triglycerides. That's actually what causes the problem with the arteries. It's not the amount of fat in the bloodstream, it's the amount of fat in the presence of insulin. That's really what it is. And if you read the physiology, that's what it says. That's what we've known for the last literally 15 years. The problem is our brains fell out of our head in the early 80s and we forgot to keep reading about lipids. You're very welcome, DJ. Good to see you. Great questions, guys. Thanks for sharing. Again, my name is Dr. Adam Nally. I'm a board-certified family physician and a board-certified obesity medicine specialist in Surprise, Arizona. Coming to you live streaming from Waddell, Arizona. Go to my website at docmuscles.com. If you've never seen me before, that's docmuscles.com. Just like on my t-shirt, docmuscles.com. For those of you on Facebook, I'm going to stand up so you can see it, docmuscles.com. And sign up for my 6-part free weight loss mini course. It will send you information about this. How long does it take to bounce back from insulin resistance? It takes 18 to 24 months on a ketogenic diet to see it reverse in many cases. Doesn't always, but it does often, so that's important. Thanks, Brian, for sharing, and for all those of you that are sharing this out. Like I said, go to my website, look that up. Mild insulin resistance. I don't know how you determine mild versus severe or more. To determine mild insulin resistance takes some significant blood testing. So if it's mild, it'll usually reverse pretty easily if someone's been able to determine mild versus moderate. Great questions, guys. And then there's always a question about PCOS. Yes, ketogenic diets help PCOS dramatically. When does the Keto Cure come out? The Keto Cure comes out September 26th. I'm trying to finish up the last few chapters, so we'll actually hit that date. But that's when it's set to come out. Go to Amazon.com. You can actually pre-order it at Amazon. Type in Keto Cure. Pretty good. At Dieguards. Oh, September 26th. Yes, thanks for telling them that. That's perfect. Is it easy to enter ketosis? Oh, is easily entering ketosis a sign of insulin resistance? No, easily entering ketosis is a sign of keto adaptation. Started losing about 20 pounds, stayed because it felt so good. Yes, it's fantastic. And I missed the bottom about recommending something tools. I missed that. I said keto tools, but I had something in the way that I couldn't see that. Pop that one back up there. Following up on Dawn Effect, 160 was no diabetic meds. Sorry it's driving you crazy. 160, I'm assuming, was your blood sugar in the morning, Chris. I'm assuming that's what it was. If your blood sugar was 160, there's a good chance that you are really insulin resistant and that you're diabetic and that you're not recovering well from your evening meal that had too much protein. That's a probability. Or you've got a sweetener in there that's causing a problem, or there's something you're drinking that you're not aware of that's actually spiking the sugar and causing it to bottom out. I'd have to see the whole panel of blood work to really answer that question, but it's a good question and something that you probably should follow up with your doc on. PCOS and borderline Cushing's, there is no such thing as borderline Cushing's. It means that you either have it or you don't. But PCOS means that your testosterone's high with a low vitamin D, and that's because of a low-fat diet. The keto way of eating is essential. That's really important. You asked about exogenous ketones. I'm a big fan of exogenous ketones because that bridges that keto adaptation period for people and helps them stay in the ketosis and stay on the wagon so they don't feel like dragging it into the forest and lighting it on fire. So that's the important thing to look at. But yes, I'm a big fan of using the ketogenic diet and exogenous ketones to help bridge that, keep you in ketosis, keep the hunger down. Are some glucose monitors more reliable than others? Absolutely. I like the Precision Extra monitor. It seems to work really well. There's a number of them out there. I find that the battery has to be correct. Number one, you got to use the correct solution. Number two, some of the older monitors don't work after 3 to 5 years very effectively, and you may want to replace the monitor. So great questions, you guys. Wow, you guys are like loaded with 21 minutes of questions. Could keto cause my mouth to be dry, my skin to be dry, and my eyes to be dry? It probably can, but it's not the fact that you're in ketosis. It's probably that you're not drinking enough water and eating enough salt. One of the common side effects of a ketogenic diet is dehydration. Most people are afraid of adding salt back into their diet when they're on ketosis, and they get dehydrated and dried out. Great questions. Let's see here. Jen Arnold asked, eating the same thing both days, husband can have heavy exertional day, and at work, ketones will drop dramatically even while using exogenous ketones. No, it's actually the stress of exercise. Exercise actually will stimulate some gluconeogenesis and will lower the ketone levels, so don't stress about that, Jen. That's okay. You'll actually see immediately after exercise a drop in ketones, and that's actually normal. It means his body works. That's great. And then his ketone level will come back up after that gluconeogenesis tones down. It is a partial cortisol response because the body is saying, hey, he's working, you got to use the muscles, and it'll load a little bit of glucose into that system to help with that. So don't stress about that. Will keto living supplement, and then that's the keto essentials, have enough vitamin D for someone with PCOS? Oh, absolutely. PCOS doesn't mean you have vitamin D deficiency. They often come together. If you have vitamin D deficiency, you often may need more than what's in that Keto Essentials vitamin in regards to vitamin D. Is there a way to know if certain foods raises your insulin even after blood sugar stays under 90? Yes, to check your ketones every hour for 2 or 3 hours to see what happens. How much fat do I recommend today? I recommend that your fat is not in grams, but your fat is in overall percentage of what you eat. What you should shoot for is about 70 to 80% of what's in your meal. So I tell people, look for foods that are 50 to 60% fat, and if you can't find that, then put fat on it. Let's see, 2 monkeys and a coconut. Thank you, I love you too, it's great. Let's see, how much daily salt intake for the average ketonian? As much as you need. I do about a half a teaspoon throughout the day of pink Himalayan sea salt because that works for me. Some people do a quarter, some people do a little bit more. If you work outside a lot and you sweat like a dog, then you may need more than that. So that's important to understand. Let's see, I understand I understand. I've had on those fasting days, I'm not understanding your question there, Chris. You had a question about something about fasting, and Doc is not as keto friendly. You had higher glucose on fasting days. You may not be totally keto adapted. That may be the other component there as well. Let's see, and there's other questions here. You guys are asking great questions, and hopefully I'm not rambling too long. I know there's still 34 people hanging in there and 37 on Facebook Live. Let's see, how much fat grams, keto-friendly breath mints or gum? The challenge is breath mints and gum all have some sweetener like xylitol or something like that in them. The amount that's in them is very minuscule. So if you do one little breath mint, if you do one piece of gum, it's probably not a big deal. But if you're one that pops like 6 breath mints and 3 pieces of gum, it may kick you out. You may see a shift there. Soul solution is phenomenal. Pink salt at complete saturation level. I'm not sure what that soul solution. I've never even heard of that. I don't know what that is. You'll have to explain what that is to me because I don't know what that is. Recommend checking ketones in blood. Which tool? I recommend the Precision Extra Ketone Monitor. that seems to be the one that's the most efficient for me. The challenge is those ketone test strips are expensive. If you're within the first 2 months of being in a ketogenic diet, you can test urine, but after 2 months, for about 80 or 90% of people, the ketones become negative after this because you keto adapt, and your body says, I'm not going to spill these ketones in the urine anymore because I need them, so it hangs on to them. That's important. The breath testers are great if you can do a color, but I often want to know what foods do to me and where they put me in the ranges, and so it's important to use blood, and that's why I use blood. So hopefully that'll help. Again, my name is Dr. Adam Nally. I'm a board-certified family physician and a board-certified obesity medicine specialist. I'm a fat doctor. You can find me at docmuscles.com. You can listen to me podcast with Jimmy Moore at ketotalk.com or on iTunes, and I think it's on Stitcher too. And I practice there in Phoenix, Arizona, keto for ulcerative colitis. There's actually a couple studies that show that a ketogenic diet decreases the flare of inflammatory bowel like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis by up to 65%. So Jen, hopefully that helps with that information. Any concern with kidney function on a ketogenic diet? Actually, kidney function gets better, Amanda. So I would look at that. In the 11 years that I've been doing, 11 plus years that I've been doing ketogenic diets, I have found that a ketogenic diet, low-carbohydrate diet, is the most effective way to help stabilize the kidney function than any other dietary approach I've ever used. Let's see here. Great questions, guys. Thoughts on women and intermittent fasting? Well, women make up about 50 to 51% of our population, so that's my thought on women. I don't know if you're asking about women doing intermittent fasting, if that's what you're asking for. I am not a fan of pushing intermittent fast all the time like I see on the internet incessantly. My definition of fasting is different than the average person's approach to intermittent fasting. I find that being in ketosis stimulates natural periods of fasting where you just don't feel hungry. So I tell people, listen to your body, that you may fast for 6 hours, you may fast for 18 just because you're not hungry. Listen to your body that way, and over time you'll find that you'll have these periods where you're just not hungry. So very good. Genevieve, that's a good question. Hopefully I answered that question, Genevieve. Should women fast? If that's what you're asking, I don't see a problem with it. I recommend fasting at a minimum once a month. I use it for religious reasons. We find that if you're doing it once a month, it's a great way to cleanse your colon naturally. You do not need colon cleansers. Those are absolutely worthless, and they actually damage the liver. So I'm not a fan of colon cleansing. It's just a really expensive. Colon cleansing, if you're buying a product to do it, is basically a really exciting way to spend 3 hours on the toilet and buy someone's boat for them. So not a big deal. I fast for about 18 hours when I do it, and I do it once a month, and it works nicely to help clean the colon. And my fast actually means no food and no water and no nothing for 18 hours. That's what my fast is. This fast with adding ketones and adding bone broth and things like that, in my mind, that's not a real fast. That's just a ketogenic period where you don't eat solid food. That's really what it ends up being. So what I tell people is, if you're in true ketosis, you're going to have these periods where you may drink water and you have electrolytes, you drink maybe exogenous ketones or bone broth or whatever it may be, and you're just not hungry for real solid fat and food for a period of 8 to 18 hours. And then that's pretty natural with what happens in a ketogenic lifestyle. But some people are mandating this in their programs, and I think that's hogwash. Listen to your body. Kids and kids and exogenous ketones, I think, are fantastic. I use exogenous ketones with kids in my practice for ADD, for autism. We use it in augmentation for focus, things like that. So fantastic. Struggling with my body, digestive fats and proteins, using the digestive enzyme my healthcare professional prescribed, insulin resistant as well. Is cutting fat back until I digest fat a bad thing? Absolutely. If you're truly trying to do a ketogenic diet, Jessica, you got to have the fat. Otherwise, your body uses protein and you're not in ketosis. Eating enough fat will suppress your appetite, allow your body to do what it needs with protein, and keep the carbs low. If you keep the carbs low and you lower the fat, your body's forced to use protein as a fuel, and it puts you back out of ketosis. That's the problem. Do I do phone appointments or consultations? I do telemedicine consultations, but I have to physically see you in my office at least once a year to do that. Some states have mandates regarding whether we can do telemedicine consultation. and so there are some legal issues that you have to be wary of state to state. But for many people, we individually will talk and determine if we can do that between our state and in Arizona and your state. But initially, for most people, in order to be compliant with everything, I have to physically see you in my office at least once a year. Let's see. Do I recommend electrolytes? Yes, I do. That's Himalayan pink sea salt. Thanks for sharing this out, Melissa. It's great. You are very welcome, Genevieve. Good questions. I hope I'm answering them all. We've been going 30 minutes and you guys are still hanging in there. This is amazing. How much protein is good per meal? That depends on your ideal body weight and your needs. We calculate that actually off your height. There's a great calculation. It's the one I use in my office on my website. If you go to docmuscles.com and you type in protein, it'll give you the protein calculations based on your height and your exercise levels, whether you're male and female, and it gives you that calculation. Where can you get a Ketonian King t-shirt? Well, I have Doc Muscle shirts, and they're actually coming available on my website here shortly. My website's being revamped, and hopefully in the next week or two, the new website will be up, and you'll actually be able to purchase these online. If you happen to be in Arizona and you want to come to my office, we actually have the Doc Muscles t-shirts available. I'm probably going to start giving them away with Keto Talk and stuff like that. I had to show them off, see how cool they look. We've got blue and pink and the gray. All right, zero carb thoughts. My thoughts are better when I'm on zero carbs, yes, if that's your question, JV. Yes. Is there a checklist of things to try to eliminate if you're stalling out? Yes, and it's kind of long. It's a whole checklist of things I go through in my head. Again, we start at insulin, we go to protein next, we go to stress, we go to medicines, we go to a whole slew of things, yes. So I could go into that, but we'll be here another 40 minutes. Can we consume too much sodium on keto? You probably could consume too much. Well, let me put it this way. No, you usually don't, because remember, when you burn fat, you create CO2, which is what you breathe out, and you create water and you pee it out. And the only way to pee it out is you got to put salt in the kidney, and the water follows the salt out. So if you're losing water, you're losing salt too. That's both sodium, potassium, magnesium, and zinc, and so you got to put it back in. So there is usually not an issue, Jennifer, with losing too much, with using too much salt. Hey, Lisa, how are you? No plants, just meat. ZC, I don't know what that means. Oh, zero carb. Yeah, there's days I don't eat any plants. I just have meat. And I actually feel pretty good that day, and I mean good ketosis that day, as long as the fat's high enough. I have no problem with zero carb diets. I really don't. The only issue I find is some people that do zero carb actually have a little constipation, and so the fiber that hits that is essential. The other issue is if you have a gut microbiome imbalance, the fiber that comes from a leafy green actually acts as a prebiotic for your lower colon and is beneficial for those bacteria. So if you have an imbalance, eating zero carbs and just eating meat all the time may throw the balance off further and may not allow you to provide the necessary prebiotic for the bacteria in your gut to grow appropriately. So a little bit of plant fiber is great. Is kombucha good? I think it has too many carbs for myself and for most of my patients, so I don't push it. What do I think of fermented foods? I love fermented foods like sauerkraut and natto in Japan and kimchi in Korea. It's great. Those are great foods that help also. They're prebiotics. If you got your hot dog, you leave off the bun and put some sauerkraut on it, fabulous meal. You're providing prebiotic for your gut. And I missed the last Periscope question that popped in there. Hey, Pamela, how are you? Good to see you. Let's see. Salt in, salt out. Yes, Jennifer, that's correct. What happens if you're not, and pardon me, my eyes, I got bright lights shining on me here. What happens if you're not consuming enough protein? If you're not consuming enough protein, you will be protein malnourished, and you will actually be fatigued, and you'll feel like crap, and you won't be able to maintain muscle mass. Do I ever eat fruit? I eat probably a half cup of berries with heavy cream once in a while. Can I see this? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about there, T Hill. So do I eat fruit? The only fruit I ever eat is just berries and cream periodically. Blueberries, raspberries, that sort of stuff. Do I recommend organic foods versus non-organic? If you can grow it yourself, yes. If you can buy it locally, yes, I do. Do you have to eat organic? Not necessarily. Can I talk more about exogenous ketone? I missed the last part of the exogenous ketone question. My wife just said that my kielbasa and sauerkraut is ready. So I'm going to go eat it. It's been 34 minutes with you guys. Great questions. I'm starving. If I don't eat my kielbasa, because I haven't eaten for probably 9 hours now, I will probably fall off the wagon and drag it into the forest and light it on fire and then and then go buy Twinkies with the insurance money. So I'm going to go eat my kielbasa so that doesn't happen. So you guys have a great day. Shout out to my data company for good service. Oh, it's streaming nice and steady. Thank you, Kia. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you for sending in. I'm going to try to once or twice a week do a Doc Talk Live for you. If you have a good question you want to pop in there, we're creating a list of Doc Talk questions to answer. So if you go to Dr. Adam Nally and I get a message, we actually plug those in there, and that's where I'm seeing them. You are very welcome, guys. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Milo. It's good to see you guys. You guys are fabulous. 100 questions on Facebook Live and hundreds of them on Periscope. We will see you in Austin. Oh yes, Bill, I'll see you there. Well, I will be in Austin speaking at KetoCon. I'll see those of you that are going to be on the low carb cruise in a week and a half. And you guys have a great evening. I will dig into my kielbasa. Thank you, Mandy. I will. I appreciate it. Have a great evening. Again, I'm Dr. Adam Nally. I'm a board-certified family physician and a board-certified obesity medicine specialist. I use ketogenic diets in my practice. I have been for about 11 years. And so you can find me at docmuscles.com. Go there, register for my free 6-part weight loss mini course. You can hear me on Keto Talk with Jimmy Moore. Thank you, Mandy, for putting that in at Doc Muscles. And you guys have a great evening. And I'm going to sign off and eat kielbasa. So have a good night. Take good care. Remember, keep the carbs low and keep the fat high, and have a good night. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.